Wait, what are we talking about?
Ah! Hey guys, thanks a lot for tuning in again. Thanks a lot for the support. 40 people subscribed, was awesome. Nice to see lots of people jumping on and subscribing for this. Just to set the intention, as we always do. I'm already getting heckled by my mum in the chat, so props to my mum, Lynn Blackledge. There, if you're not already following her, please do go and follow her. She's awesome, and she did a whole blab of her own today on customer service. So yeah, guys, for the next 45 minutes, and today it is a strict 45 minutes that we're going to do, give or take maybe 1 or 2 minutes. We're going to go through some tips and trends that are going on with live streaming and how you can use it to grow your own personal brands. Hey, Joel, awesome show. I've just jumped from yours to here. And really glad you can join us. So yeah, we're going to kick off talking about the trends and things that are going on in live streaming. So if you're ready to go, Vincenzo, I'm going to hand over to you to kick off with the trends that are happening right now.
Hey, let's go. Let's do this. It's tips and trends with Enzo and Tristan, you know what I've noticed lately, buddy? People are collaborating.
Absolutely. Or collaborating.
But you know what? I'm seeing it also outside of just Blab. I think Blab is creating this community of collaboration, and people are seeing that they can do cool stuff with other people. They don't have to just do it by themselves. I actually brought this up in a podcast recording of mine earlier, and I asked my guest if they thought Periscope, it was actually Kim Garst, I asked her if she thought Periscope was only for, single broadcast. And she said, I think, she thought, just like I did, that it was a platform that can be used with more than one person, similar to what Amy Schmitzauer, Subi Zimmerman, and myself do on Sunday mornings, where we do Pass the Scope. And Tristan, you were there earlier this week on Sunday, where we passed the scope from, Sue to Amy to myself, and then I passed it along to someone else that was watching. And that's a way to collaborate. So I think there's a trend towards collaboration. What do you think, bud?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having just come in from like Joelcom's show as well, looking at there's interviews and things going on, but people are taking it kind of beyond that and really there's loads of people with lots of knowledge, and obviously when people get together, they can deliver so much more value and more content in that concise amount of time. Like this, we've got 45 minutes. Obviously, you and myself do this show on a weekly basis, but today, because we're talking about collaboration, we're going to be shouting to a few people to come and jump in and join us, people that we're collaborating with or that we've been doing work with as well. So yeah, definitely there's a trend in collaborating, and live streaming is actually making the world a much smaller place. I mean, I'm in Sydney, Australia, and obviously with yourself being over in the States, it's fantastic the way it's just connecting all these people and allowing for collaboration as well. So I'm really excited to see what other opportunities it brings for people. And with you talking about the pass the scope thing, obviously there's people that you maybe already work with, and it's great that you then pass it on to another person. And I know I'm going to give a shout out to Chocolate Johnny on this, that he's specifically always looking for who's that underdog, who's that person that I can lift up and say, hey, this person needs some credit. They're delivering some really good value and some good content, and they're just not getting the recognition because maybe they're doing it at the wrong time of day, or the people aren't just seeing it. So yeah, collaboration absolutely all the way.
Yeah, I like there's a lot of people that are doing it, and I'm seeing that there's more and more people, I mean, outside of their circles too. So we're not just collaborating inside our circles. Like Tristan, you and I are doing the show together, and we didn't know each other before Blab. And we decided, hey, this would be a cool little show to do on Tuesday or Wednesday morning for yourself. And I just think it's really cool. There's we're building new circles, we're building new relationships and partnerships. Joelcom and myself, we are doing our show. I actually wrote down, I'm doing 5 different shows now here on Blab. One is my podcast, so that one was mine regardless. But 4 different shows outside of my podcast that are being done with 4 different people that are completely in different like circles, so to speak, which I love. You know, Joel Comm, Jason Yarborough, Rachel Krebling, and yourself. So, you know, I would say get out there and actually go do something with somebody different, you know, and you just get out. Like I tell people all the time, stop listening to the same podcast. Stop listening to the same people online. Go listen, you know, go watch a different instructional video. Go, you know, do something like that, because if you listen to the same voices constantly, this is nothing bad against those voices, but if you're listening to the same people over and over and over again, your mentality, you can never expand your mind. You can never grow your thought process. And, you know, somebody taught me that as well, because I was listening to the same few people online and I turned into a talking head for those few people, as opposed to creating my own ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot of that comes out of collaboration. Not only can all the people work together and offer a massive amount of value to the listening audience and the viewers now, obviously with live streaming and Blab, with the people coming in to join us. But it's also about learning from each other as well. When you're collaborating with people, by mixing it up and going with different people all the time, it allows you to expand your knowledge base. You know, someone might say, hey, why are we doing it like this? Why do we always, you know, why is it always us in the seats? Why don't we host a show and I'll jump out and allow some more people to come in and collaborate? Yeah. So learning how other people do things is always a massive advantage as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you have to learn from others. Like, you know, I learn a lot from Joel when I host his show, and I just as much as I learn a lot from you, Tristan, and, you know, the others that I am doing shows with. And I love being in the host seat because I enjoy it. I feed off the excitement and a crowd, but there's different styles that work for different people. There's some people that are a little more, they're loud. There's some that really take command of the room. There's others that sit back and they let everybody talk. And so I think you have to find your own hosting or collaboration style. And the Blab team does a great job. They have that find a co-host, right? They're actually helping people find co-hosts. How cool is that? Do you know any other tool that they actually have a team that's dedicating their time to finding you a co-host? I mean, I don't. So Brittany's actually spending time matching people up, getting them to collaborate.
Yeah, I mean, they've even taken it off of the platform and moved it over to Twitter, and they're using that as a tool now. I know that there's actually a specific Twitter handle that you can now use to try and help you find a co-host. And if you tweet to them, they'll retweet. So yeah, I mean, it's really exciting that the people on the platform are, I kind of guess it's a type of a collaboration between the people who have created the platform and the people who are using the platform now as well. So I think that's awesome. And I love how much they're contributing to the people who are creating value on the platform.
Yeah. I mean, really at the end of the day, you have to still create value. But so that was kind of a trend that I've been seeing. I've been noticing a lot of that. What about you, Tristan? Have you seen anything besides collaboration that we can talk about? And then we'll jump into maybe some tips.
So yeah, one of the other things is, so this is going to quite neatly roll into tips as well, because how it's done will kind of go into a tip as well. So there's definitely a trend, obviously, with the integration with Twitter. A lot of people are rediscovering Twitter and now reigniting a passion with Twitter and going back and starting to use it more. I mean, the engagement levels are kind of second to none from using live stream. And obviously, you know, Periscope posts to Twitter, Blab posts to Twitter. Like here, you've got the whole audience can come in and quite easily share this broadcast by hitting the tell a little bird button or the tweet button on the iOS, which obviously, and this platform, I think, absolutely spot on for the fact that when someone tweets out, it mentions those people, because it also gives us the art of follow-up. That means afterwards we can go and interact with those people, see, hey, there's some new people that came to the show that aren't normally here, and re-engage with the familiar faces that maybe you've lost touch with because you've been so busy. So that whole element of, I guess that kind of, it could be like a collaboration, I guess, as well, you know, between the platforms themselves, that using them together, and people are, so from that trend, people who are using Blab extensively are actually seeing more people joining their Periscopes, because from Blab, they connect from Blab to Twitter, and then when they go live on Periscope, it posts to Twitter, and their Twitter followers from Blab now join them on Periscope as well. So it's growing the audiences and doing the whole cross-pollination thing. So
I love that. I mean, it's just kind of, I don't want to say you're passing people all around, but for those of us that you have that kind of one to many on Periscope or Meerkat, and then here it is, you can actually get those people to sit down and talk back to you. And that's what I've loved the most. That's what I've enjoyed the most, is getting people off of other platforms and then having conversations with them. I think Blab has done a really good job of this, because with Google Hangouts, it seems so like, oh, we're in our own private room. Now it's like, hey, let's have a conversation, but there's a ton of other people there. So don't feel weird about it, because as somebody else can jump in, you could bounce ideas off of each other. The community aspect of this app is really what is making it go fast.
Yeah, and I mean the community here is absolutely second to none on all of the platforms I've seen, and I think that a lot of that comes through because you've had the people who developed the platform have kind of lived and breathed what they would then want other people to take on. So they've really invested time in reacting with people, right, and coming in and spending time building a relationship. And they've shown you, they've walked, they've done it, and they're now like walk in our shoes and do the same. So people like now doing that, the community working together and helping each other, which obviously then leads on to the collaboration side of things again, which I think is absolute gold on this platform.
Mm-hmm. Let's do we want to jump into some tips, maybe, like see what is the audience looking for here? Are we guys looking for tips today? What do we want to hear? Because I love the collaboration, but that's kind of obvious for me. Actually, what's really cool, Tris? I have been putting together, and everyone here listening, there's 23 of you still watching. You want to hear me sing? Actually, this microphone might help me sound better at it.
Does it have auto-tune?
No, if I get this mixer to work, though, then I could probably... I don't even know. Anyway,
cool. Looks like the consensus is for tips on this one when we're ready to roll to the
next. All right, well, we'll jump into some tips. But here's something that I've been working on. And it is a webinar or course. I haven't decided how I'm going to deliver it exactly, but on how to host, how to be a good host, how to, create content as a host without getting lost in the background. Because there's a lot of people and I've had a lot of people coming to me and like, how are you hosting all of this stuff? How are you doing all this? And for me, it seems second nature, because it's not, I don't want to say it's not hard. It's still difficult, like it's very difficult to go and host something with somebody who has just as much gusto as you do, because you're fighting for airtime, right? Yeah. But that's also not to say you want to pick somebody that is just going to let you talk and overpowering, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's also a way to host, and there's ways to boot people out, or at least keep the conversation going. There's ways to keep the conversation flowing. Hey, jump in for a question to our guest, and now you get them out quickly. So like I do that with my podcast. I bring people in at the end, and then I tell them, okay, thanks for your question. We're going to let you, we're going to bring someone else up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
my audio okay, Tris?
Yeah, it sounds okay to me. It's okay for everyone in the chat as well. I think that you've got a key point there. You already touched on it earlier, that every host is going to be different in how they host the show and how they curate that, which obviously it's the same as, all of the broadcasts are going to be different naturally by the people that are in them. And obviously the host plays a big part of that. And there's a kind of, like you say, there's key things that you can do as a host to keep that flowing, and it's down to you to make sure that it stays engaging throughout. I mean, a good way to tell if that's the case is if people are staying in the show, and obviously this platform allows you to see, how many people are here live, how many people have been through, and those metrics are really good for us as hosts to be able to say, hey, is this really engaging? People are staying on, and I know that in Joelcom's broadcast that he's just finished, Brian Fanzo was just talking about how the most important metric, and obviously this is something we know Periscope have just announced kind of what they're hitting, is about the amount of media that's being consumed per day, or even for us, if we're on for 45 minutes, I want to know how many minutes of time were consumed by an audience during that time. And obviously that's something that hopefully from this platform will come in time as they build it. So I'm not sure if you can hear me. Someone says that they've lost me, and I'm not sure if it's their connection. So guys in the chat, I don't know if you can all still hear me. Can you just let us know on the chat side? Yeah, okay. So it's just, so for some people, it might just be that it's a connectivity issue because it will drop out. So yeah, I think that's a really key thing.
In terms of, tips, we could go on for days about tips, but with live streaming, I did some pretty good tips on Sunday, and how people can really, how do you keep an engaged audience? So Tris, maybe you and I can go, bounce back and forth on these. Yep. I gave 5, and let's see if I can remember them all. But my first was a title that actually is like worth something. Like you actually are giving a title to people that is about something worthwhile. You're not just throwing out clickbait, right? Like Tris, you see that a lot. You see a lot of clickbait.
For sure, it does work and it does bring people in. But if they come and they've got no expectation of what that will be about, then they might leave just as quickly as they came in. And
what happens there is exactly. So we're looking for retention, right? You want to keep people. So a platform like Blab, you're naturally going to have a little more retention, but on Periscope or Periscope, Meerkat, any other live stream, you have 8 seconds, 6 seconds. You don't have a lot of time. If your title says, jumping off of a bridge just to get people to click on it, and then you're sitting in front of your computer talking about live streaming or something,
it's not.
People are going to leave. Like they clicked on it for the shock factor. That's the only reason why they're there. Yeah. So that's my tip 1. My tip 2 was a fun introduction, some sort of fun introduction. Again, that was my personal tip for when I do Periscopes. And what I meant by fun introduction is I like to either have music playing or I'll show my dog. Like I'm not, again, I'm going to be totally honest with you. Like that's what I do. And it works because people stay. Some people might leave, but again, it's that first 6 seconds. Like, what are we looking at? Sometimes I find it, first of all, you can't just start talking right away. You have to have some sort of intro. You can't just start talking because people are funneling in. If you started talking and you had 3 people in there, but then you have 30 within a couple minutes, well, 27 people had no idea what you're talking about. So you got to give people time to filter in. That's kind of tip 2 and 2A is give people time to filter in. I do that with usually an intro, or I'm just talking to people and saying like, well, tip 3 is kind of like engaging the audience. So where are you from? What are you doing today? What's on your plate? Find out what people are doing. Like I genuinely care. So I ask people, where are you calling in from? Or where are you watching? What do, on a Monday, I'll be like, oh, how's your Monday? What's your week looking like? On a Friday, I'll say, how was your week? Did you do anything fun? On a Wednesday, okay, it's hump day. How, what are you looking forward to? Are you looking forward to the weekend? Have like it's just knowing the context of what you're talking, of your, of your day, of the time of day. If it's towards the end of the day, how was the day? If it's the beginning of the day, oh my God, have you had your cup of coffee yet? Or like, I'll have a cup of coffee with me if it's the morning time, and I'll just sit there and be like, oh yeah, it's time. Like just little things. It means it may not mean anything to you right then and there, but it just goes to show like, hey, I'm going to sit here and have a cup of coffee with my audience. You'd be shocked how far that goes. So that was my tip 3. Tip 4 was to stay on topic. Yeah. So stay on topic. These are ways to keep retain your audience. And more so this has to do with like Periscope, Meerkat, Blab too. But Blab, you could change the topic. There's ways to kind of keep people funneling in. So tip 4, stay on topic. You want to be relevant. This happened a lot in the beginning with Meerkat, and Tristan, I don't know if you remember or you were on it, but people would go for a long time, and you'd go down a rabbit hole. People started to realize that if you jumped off when you wanted to change your topic and then jump back on with a new title, they're like, wow, people are really starting to watch me a lot more because now they know, okay, well, here's a break in the subject. Now I'm going to get something new. Yep. So that's kind of tip 4. Tip 5 is add value. So you have to have some sort of value, whatever that value may be. If it's if you're an entertaining stream, like Joel and I do an entertainment blab, it's a late show. Okay, have something worthwhile bringing. If you're talking about live streaming tips and trends, like Tristan and I are, we have to bring value. We can't just sit here and talk about the weather the whole 45 minutes because what's the point of that? And Joelcom's jumping in. So Joelcom and I, we bring value because we're entertaining, but we let you know this is entertainment. We started off with this chachi intro and music playing, and Joel's got a little image. Like there's a clear-cut goal to our show. So that's
what is it? I don't even know. What's the goal?
To bring entertainment value to late night.
Oh, like this.
It's Blab Talk Live with Vincenzo Landino and Joel Com.
Yes.
Joel, do I sound better with this?
In fact, tomorrow night on Blab Talk Live,
Spencer Pratt from the Hills.
And maybe Heidi Montag. I don't know. We'll see if she decides to come on with him or not.
So just while we're there and we're talking about adding value and collaborating, Joel, if you've got a link for that, please do fire it up into the chat. Go for it. We're all about collaborating and helping people. Failing that, do go to blab.im/JoelCom and you'll be able to find all of his scheduled shows coming up there.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to miss. Here it is.
Joel
Boom.
Com.
You got your mic stand. You're all set up, Vince.
I got the boom. Yeah, I'm having problems with the mixer though.
I haven't broken it out yet. I've got some other things.
I'm having a little bit of issues, I think. So I'll have to figure it out.
Okay.
But apparently size matters on microphone.
I'm waiting for my gripper thing, and then you can instruct me on how to get it set up.
It was very, very simple. I'll be honest with you.
That's good because I'm a very, very simple person. So
simple kind of man. Look at my hat.
So Joel,
karaoke for a Tuesday afternoon here on KBLB Radio. Yes, my friend. What?
So Joel, your 5 tips then for how to do live streaming well. If you had to sum them up in a sentence each, what are your top 5 tips?
How to do live streaming well. Have a solid connection.
That's good.
Have good gear. Right. If you're going to do this, then a nice webcam, a good microphone, and we're still gearing up here. So like mine has gotten better. I started with a little headset thing that I was using, and then I, got this, and I've got a better boom coming, and I've got my USB mixer, and pretty soon I'll have a set back here. So quality, I think, is important. We don't want this to feel like a little rinky-dink production. Number 3.
Can I interject 1 second? Just 1 second. Yeah, I know. For those watching, and they're like, well, I don't want to buy a boom arm or anything like that. Understand where Joel's coming from. We are trying to create shows. So for us, this gear helps the quality of the production, and that helps retention because of what we're looking to do. So if you don't have a goal in mind and you're just going to, shoot the shit a couple days a week, you don't need to spend a lot of money. This microphone right here that Joel just dropped the link to is a USB microphone that actually is $60. It's less than $60, and if you have Amazon Prime, shipped is $59.88.
It sounds beautiful, doesn't it?
Oh, I think it sounds great. I just can't wait to get this damn mixer set up. But again, that's go ahead, Joel. I just wanted to make sure people didn't think, oh my God, I have to go out and spend money just to do live streaming. Like, no, you don't. But if you want it to be production quality or you want something to be really, really good, then the gear helps.
Yeah. And so the top tip that you put in there, my friend, is us when we say solid connection, we're talking about bandwidth. In other words, I don't think that unless absolutely necessary, producing a show from mobile, I wouldn't do that. There's too many problems with mobile. Some of it is probably related to the app is still beta, not ready for prime time, and some of it is that the connections are just going to be undependable. So a solid Wi-Fi or wired connection on some pipe that is made for streaming. So that's one. Number two was the gear. Number three, have something to say. If you're producing a show, right, that's what we're talking about. We're not just talking about for somebody that just turns it on, right, and just says, "Hi, I'm here. Let's blab."
Right.
Okay, so assuming that have something to say and realize that this platform is made for multiple people to join. It's not just about you, because if you're going to do that, then use Periscope, Meerkat, or Facebook Live or some other application where it's one to many. But in this case, it's all about the conversation and the community that's built. So I would always focus on having a guest, unless I'm just turning it on just to take Q&A. But that in itself is a topic and a purpose of its own. Don't hog the whole show. Let people engage and interact. That's what seats 3 and 4 are all about. So, Vincenzo and I will have a guest on, and we'll talk to them for 15, 20 minutes. And then we'll say, we're opening up. Come on in and talk to our guests. Same thing when I do the Joel Comm show, where I just do an interview with somebody like I just did with Brian Fanzo. We'll talk for a little bit, and then people got something to say. And usually it's not just, all right, let's do Q&A. The show I just did was like, let's brainstorm together. Let's talk about the future of technology and how we're going to interact and engage in business and personally as consumers and as business people. What does it look like? So now we've got a discussion taking place. So I'm not sure if that was 3, 4, or whatever.
I think you got to 4. We'll give you another one.
Okay. So number 5, let me spin the wheel of ideas. Says spin again.
Do you want me to add my last tip?
No, I want to come up with it. Don't get out of my head.
Okay.
Just you and your little Italian beard stay out of my head.
You haven't seen my hat. You haven't even mentioned my hat yet.
I saw it. I saw it on the last one you're at. Nice hat, Vincenzo.
Thanks.
Are we going to the hoedown? Ding, 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 ding. I would say another tip would be, I want to make it good. I don't want to just go something like that. I want to make it better than whatever Vincenzo was going to say. Good. Tell me what you were going to say.
You can't make it better than me, man. My bonus tip to that whole thing was
bonus tip.
Have a call to action. So even though Joel and I do a funny show, we have a call to action. We're driving people back to our website, blabtalk.com. We're telling them either to sign up so that they can get news and new blog posts from us, or we're telling them to go and submit new content over to the Blab source, which is our Blab lexicon. So we're getting people engaged off of the show through a call to action. So don't forget to have a call to action. That can be anything. It can be, hey, tweet me after the show and say hi so I can say hi back and follow you. It could be anything, but just make sure if you have a call to action, it should work with whatever your end goal is as well.
Schmidt pants in the hizzle.
What's up?
Is Al.
Okay, so the last thing that I'll say is that so notice my camera's a widescreen.
Cool.
Right? I think it's a better picture running through ManyCam than it is just using the native camera is coming through Chrome. I like the way that ManyCam pulls in a bigger picture. It's a sharper picture. I think the colors are a little better than what they're using natively on Chrome. And it allows you to produce, cool stuff where you can switch between. And, on the last one that I did, I pulled a video in, and while we weren't listening to the video, I was talking over it to make a point. And so upping the production quality with music and with transitions. If this is going to become a platform for people to create content in a show format, then the better produced shows are going to end up winning the day, in my humble but most likely correct opinion.
Awesome. So
You've never been wrong about anything, Joel, anyway. So it doesn't
I
matter.
have not been wrong in the last 30 seconds, but before that, I can not confirm or deny.
You're funny.
cool. Awesome. So that's the 5 tips from Joel Combs. Amy, thanks for jumping in.
No problem.
Coming to deliver some massive value to the show. So what's your
Tell me more. What value will I be delivering?
in one sentence per tip? What are your top 5 tips for people who are taking to live streaming?
Oh my gosh, this is intense. I thought you just wanted me to come say hi.
Tip number 1.
Tip number 1, stop trying to do what you're doing in other places on live streaming, because it's not the same thing. And a lot of people forget context of platform. I think that was 3 sentences, maybe 4. Number 2, collaborate. Stop, collaborate, and listen.
Collaborate.
Collaborate.
I
think that
brand new event, Shane.
I think the reason why everybody's like so keen to blab is especially because we've seen even on Periscope, people are pulling people up on Skype just to collaborate if you can't get in person with somebody. So that's a big one. 3, leverage the networks you already have. The nice thing about this is that it taps into the social networks of like Twitter and stuff. But if you don't have a Twitter network, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be a cool kid here. So go leverage what you already have and put it in play. Number 4, pimp out what you already have going on so that you don't forget about that stuff. I mean, I see a lot of people that are like, I'm this expert and I'm that and I'm this and I'm that. And then they're like, now I'm on Blab. So I just really want to be on Blab all the time. It's like, okay, well, stop. Don't forget where you came from. You know, there's people that are still trusting you to be in the space that they know you and have become, loyal to you on. And number 5 is always have an action plan. Don't do this as a hobby because it's completely pointless if you don't have something you want people to do in turn. They should be following you for a reason, and therefore, once you give them value, you're allowed to ask for relative value in return. And so, give it as a call to action.
Awesome, nice and concise. Awesome.
Yeah,
I'd love to offer as much value as we can in the 45 minutes and appreciate that. And I appreciate Joel adding massive value down there.
What I would really like to see is if you had Minicam as well, I would slide it this way and it would come out, over on your side.
That'd be awesome.
You know the guy that does I can't remember his name, but does the vines where he's like the illusionist and he pulls money off does all the funny stuff. Like, when people start figuring out how to orchestrate some really cool stuff here on Blab, it'll be way entertaining.
Hey, somebody mentioned have a co-host so you can interact with the chat comments. What I do with my podcast recording, when I'm recording my official podcast, what I do is I have my my producer sit in the bottom square. He mutes himself. He listens to the show, but he's also engaging with the comments. We've actually moved completely off of Twitter chat because we had a Twitter chat / Google Hangout. So we had him sit there. Now, again, not everyone's going to have this opportunity, but if you can, just utilize a friend or somebody that wants to sit there and do that kind of thing. If you want to moderate a chat, so you don't miss questions, and you can conduct a professional style interview, and then you can reuse this content. It doesn't look like you're jumping all over the place. Like, let me say hi to this one. Let me answer that question. You can wait to the end. They can curate those questions for you, and then they can actually read them back to you if you wanted to. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and on that, I mean, I host a show with Stephen Caggiano, and we actually have a community manager who sits in chat, and they fire the questions to us at a natural break in the conversation. Like you say, keeping on topic, like you were saying before, that person helps you to do that by collecting that and interacting with the other people. So that's a really powerful way to go. So I guess that comes to my 5 tips. Slightly different tack from me. My number 1 tip is to look at tracking what is going on. So it's about analytics. Be really aware about what's working and what's not. So you can do all of these things, but it's really important to understand what's working and what's not. So really look at analytics and tracking, and that kind of goes all the way through to dealing with looking at the follow-up, especially on here. Lots of people are hitting the tweet button, so we're aware afterwards. There's lots of mentions on Twitter. You can go to Twitter and you can do a follow-up with them. So look at the analytics and how you can use those. Tip number 1. Tip number 2 comes back to something that's already been touched on here, is for me really, really important, and especially on this platform, on Blab, is good audio is absolutely key. You can see these guys got microphones on. Amy and I have got headphones in so that we can reduce any issues with any audio and stuff that's going on. That's really important, especially on this platform, where if the bandwidth drops, the first thing to drop is video. So if the audio is the most important thing, focus on making that the best it can be, whether that's with the likes of a big mic or putting yourself in a room where you're not going to be interrupted and things like that. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, and this is a really interesting one, is think global. So when you're live streaming, think about global, and I'll give you 2 examples. One of them is certain types of humor work in one country and don't work in another, and your audience might not get the jokes. Another one is whilst we were troubleshooting for the West Midlands Police in the UK, they were broadcasting from a police car sat on the left-hand side of the car, which to anyone from the UK would know that that's the passenger seat, but to anyone viewing from other places would think, hey, this person is driving, and they would get the whole don't scope and drive thing going on. So think about who the audience is when you're delivering the content, so it's relevant to everyone who's watching. That's tip number 3. Amy touched on my tip number 4. There's always seems to be some overlap. Tip number 4 for me is be prepared, whether that's talking to your co-hosts beforehand, working out what the flow of that is going to be, or just having a few notes. You'll quite often notice when I'm live on broadcast, I tend to lean out of shot quite a lot, and that's just because I have a pen and paper next to it. I'm taking notes, and I'm correcting things and making notes so that we can stay on track while my co-hosts are posting. While they're talking, I write stuff down so that as soon as they finish, I can come back to the point and reference things that have already been discussed in there. So it's about being prepared and being present in the conversation. My tip number 5, again, I'm going to be echoing a little bit here, is look for a good co-host and someone to help you manage the community so that you can give your complete focus. And again, it kind of ties in with number 4 about being present, is managing it for the platform that you're on. We're talking about a co-host because obviously we're on Blab. So a good reason that I wanted to do this show with Vincenzo is I know that as a host, I like to interact in the chat when I'm not actually talking. So while Vincenzo is dropping knowledge, I can interact and catch up and watch for any questions there. So that's my tip number 5. So that's me rounding up my top 5 tips.
Nice.
I would just echo with the joke thing. People in my own country don't understand my jokes. So, that's a crapshoot, something to account for.
Maybe it's because you're not funny.
Might be. I'm still testing it.
Awesome. So, Amy and Joel, any trends that you've seen? Because we just touched on some trends before you guys came in within the live streaming world that's coming up. We touched on collaboration being our kind of main one of the moment, and also the cross-pollination between platforms and how they're complementary to each other rather than this whole, which one should I be using? Like, they actually do work quite well together. So what are the trends that you guys are seeing?
Ladies first.
I think you're more in it than I am.
Well, I already showed my trends earlier, so
I'm in it to win it.
I missed it.
I think there's a trend on Blab about people talking about Blab. So I'm kind of over that, but I've been on for 18 or 19 days now. But I think it's everybody's initial thing. I think that there's a trend to have there's a reignited excitement about Twitter because of the Twitter engagement that we're seeing here, whereas Twitter's got some issues with stagnancy, and this is helping to make it more useful for us again, because one of the primary reasons that we're fans of Twitter is because it engages people in the conversation. So I like using Twitter to engage people and bring them here. And I think we're seeing that with others. I think we're also seeing broadcasters really adapting. We're both adapting and adopting at the same time with our eyes closed while chewing gum. It's a natural for people that have any broadcast history. So there's a lot of people on here with radio voices and faces for radio. And I think that there's going to be a lot of people that aren't comfortable being on camera, but they want to watch the shows and they want to hang in the sidebar and there's got to be a name for that. Hanging in the sidebar. Chilling in the sidebar. Does that make them marginalized?
Yeah.
I'll stop
So
now.
I was going to actually jump across because I'm very aware of the chat's moving quite fast and there's some really good points being made by people in the audience. And this again comes to the collaboration and being present with your audience. Is somebody actually said that a lot of the really serious broadcasts are being done from desktop rather than from mobile. And Does anyone see, I mean, obviously we talked about the connection side of things. Now, for me, one of the things, because everybody's always talking about pieces of kit and equipment and stuff to use to enhance your broadcasts. For me, if I know I'm going out, this is a key piece of kit for me. It's a mobile Wi-Fi dongle. I actually use my phone on a 4G dongle because it means I'm not reliant on the network of my phone, which tends to not be as good as these. They tend to pick up a much better connection. So if you know you're going to do it, look at, again, it touches in with Joel's comment about like the equipment stuff. Get the best equipment you can do for your circumstances. So great. I'd love to see some really good broadcasts from outside. You know, people out doing active stuff. Like, it doesn't need to be a conversation. Maybe they're even, you know, back in the day we used to have mimes and stuff, but we could have people doing, you know, muting themselves and doing extreme sports. Imagine being able to watch an extreme sports blab where they're doing loads of crazy stuff in 4 boxes and you choose which one you want to watch.
That would be kind of cool, actually. I kind of like that. I just got off a blab with DC United. It's a MLS, so for in the United States, soccer. For everyone else, football team here in the United States, and they're doing some really cool stuff with live stream. Like I was shocked at some of the things, and I was the woman that was talking to us was she's the director of digital media, and the things they are doing as a club that doesn't have a lot of money. Joel, you'd be I think you'd like this. Where they don't have a lot of money. They're a small-time club, and they're in the MLS, so they already don't make a lot of money. And for them to compete, they're doing a lot of really cool stuff with live stream. They're actually taking it to the extreme. Live stream to the extreme. And I rock the mic like a vandal. Dance. They're doing pre-game shows where they're actually, she's hosting a pregame show before every match, 30 minutes before, and going behind the scenes in the locker rooms. They're going and showing off some of the players, what they do in their free times. It's just very, very cool. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here.
I couldn't help as your joke fell flat there to think that we'll soon have a saying that says, "Don't quit your day, blab."
Blenzo.
Wait, but that's like still so vague for him.
Well, it
Call
means
me Blenzo.
Evening
I
is
feel
when we
like
moonlight.
okay. Oh, I have something. Maybe there's like a scale in the lexicon of like how many hours per day you're on Blab. And so like there's like a top level, which is like 12 to 24 hours, which would be like you guys. And then it would be like, 6 to 12 or something. And then there'll be like names for how much time you spend on Blab on a daily basis so that you're like being rated.
So it's funny you say that, Amy, because in an informal chat with the guys from Blab, that I think it was Sean said that he'd quite like, they're quite anti the gamification and people being able to play the platform, which is why the feels or props, if you're new to the platform, why they zero out, and he'd actually said they'd quite like to see something like, you know, the badges, you know, someone who does loads of really cool stuff. Let's credit them.
Badges. We don't need no stinking badges.
I'm the mayor of Blabville.
I like that. You're dressed for the part too.
You know what, Tristan? I think it's done when you look at how many people are following. Right? The achievements are in the follows. It's if you have a measurement that's going to be a legitimate measurement, it's going to be in how many people want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I think it's in badges.
Yeah,
I disagree with
I think there's room for badges.
This is why I'm still on Foursquare. I'm still going for the badges.
Wait, who's on Foursquare?
It's actually called Swarm now, and they give you coins, and I'm still trying to figure out what the coins are.
Hey, I know that Tristan and I are at the end of this the time. I know we
I don't blame you.
We like to stick to the 45-minute time slot, but you guys are a great group. Tris, how do you want to?
It's been really good, and I think that there's been I think we've had some massive value in the 45 minutes, and I'm free for like another 5-10 minutes to hang about if you guys want to hang out for a little bit. I am actually going to stop the broadcast though, because we are conscious of making it that short show so people can come in and get the value. So just cool. There, while I wrap this up, I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who came in and made the show as good as it was. Some really great comments and some feedback from the guys on the side there. Thanks to Amy and Joel and Vincenzo for making the show all it was and taking over screens and adding loads of massive value. Absolutely great. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys. And remember that we do this every week, and it is at the same time every week. So you can check that out by going to blab.im/ATW networking, and all the scheduled ones are there. And hopefully this show will grow. And if you enjoy it, please do tell other people about it.